Um, okay, Zug the Heilige Gemura. We are up to Chav Gimel Amid Beis on the bottom. Today's daf is Chav Dalid. So how many lines at the bottom of Chav Gimel? Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. About 18 lines at the bottom. It's going on the Mishnah we saw yesterday. The Mishnah said, a case of Shevuos Shelei Oichel. A person said, I swear I'm not going to eat. And then he eats Oichelin She'einin Ruin Lachila or Shasa Mashkin She'einin Ruin Lashtia. He eats something which is not Ruin Lachila, something which is not Ruin Lashtia. He's potter.
I saw an ad today from a doctor about having a spoon of olive oil every night.
We talked about yesterday that people have, some people eat
So,
a drink. So just pure olive oil, you're saying there.
pure olive oil,
Just a spoonful of olive oil.
I just
I heard a spoonful of sugar, that I heard before. Makes the medicine go down. That's what I...
Das ich weiß. The olive oil.
Das ich weiß, Rocky says. Das ich weiß. I love it. Anyway, I thought you were going to say something else. You saw an ad. I remember seeing an ad. A restaurant was advertising.
Yeah.
Eat here or we'll both starve.
Right.
Eat by us or we'll both
That's
starve.
a good one.
Yeah.
That's a nice idea.
Yeah. These ads, some people are so creative. I was driving my kids to yeshiva this morning and my son pointed out an ad in one of the places that fixes your tires, mechanic shop. It said, "We serve you by accident."
Good
It's a
fun.
great line. Yeah. Okay. Either way, in the Mishnah on Chaf Beis Amid Beis, we saw if a person makes a shvuah shlo yoichel, and then he eats oichel she'ein ruin lachir or shoysa mashkin she'ein ruin l'shtia. He's potter. But the very next line, the Mishnah said, if you make a shvuah shlo yoichel and you eat nevelas treifis, you're chayiv. Nevelas treifis presumably also oichel she'ein ruin lachila. So there's a contradiction. Ask the Gemara, gufa kasha. Amr shvuah shlo yoichel v'achel oichel she'ein ruin lachila v'shosa mashkin she'ein ruin l'shtia potter. V'had tani shvuah shlo yoichel v'achel nevelas treifis katzim r'masam chayiv maishne reisha the potter. Why are you putting the ratio when you eat oichlin she'einu nui lachila or mashkin she'einu lishtia? Mar assumes that nevelis is in that category, right? It might be nevelis as well because it's not rui lachila. You're not allowed to eat it. That's the assumption in the Havana right now. So mashkin reisha the potter, mashkin sefer the chayiv. Answers the Gemara, like kasha. It's not a kasha. There's a chiluk in the cases. Reisha bestam. The reisha, when we say you're potter, you made a general statement. You said shvuah shalei oichel, and therefore your das was on rui lachila. If you make a general statement, stam, a stoma, I'm not going to eat, pashtas you mean anything that's ru'i lachila. So if you eat, dvar she'en ru'i lachila, you're potter. You didn't violate the shvuah. Why you chayiv in the sefer? The sefer b'mefarish. The sefer you explicitly stated, I'm not going to eat what? Nevelas treifish gatzim r'masam. So if you eat it, you're chayiv. Asks the Gemara, slow down. Mefarish, nami gufei tikshi. I have a kasha, even if it's mefarish, he should still be potter. Why? Amai. Why you would be chayiv? Mushba Mar Sinai hu. You're mushba va'omet from Mar Sinai. You're not allowed to nevelas treifis because you took an oath by Mount Sinai. Shevuos is coming. Mamish, come out. Mushba va'omet Mar Sinai has a whole different meaning right now as we approach Shevuos in a few days. You stood at Har Sinai and you accepted the Shevuah. Not to eat nevelas treifis gatzim r'masim. So how is it going to help you to make another Shevuah on top of that? That's a Shevuah l'kaim b'dvar mitzvah. It's a shvuah that's not challah, another shvuah. You know, I was learning this morning, I was reviewing this. I thought of an unbelievable machshava. Everybody knows that, past life, galgulam are a real thing, right? But rarely do we find that a past life has a halachic ramification in this present life. Very rarely do we find that something that happened in a life 1,000 years ago has mamish halachic ramification right now. Here we have, it's unbelievable to me. Here, your soul, or maybe you yourself in a different life, stood at Har Sinai, right? And so, therefore, in 2025, if you're trying to make a shvuah, stay to Shulchan Aruch, the shvuah can't be chal. It's like an unbelievable machshava to me. Like it's like a concept which, you usually leave, the olam haneshamas or Gilgulim, you leave it in Kisvei Arizal. You leave it in, in the Kabbalah element, in the Chelik HaTorah of Soid. But not in Pshat. You come into the Olam HaPshat, the Olam HaNigla. Really, it has a ramification. You can't simply make a Shevuah today because of that. Yeah, to me, it's a big deal. Okay. So the Gemara asks, Mefarish nami gufei tikshi. Even if you're mefarish and you say, I'm not going to eat nevel streifus behedya, mefurish, still it shouldn't be chal because you're trying to have a shvuah being chal on a shvuah. So once this Rav Shmuel, Rabbi Yoel Gold, they say that this was an expansive type of shvuah, which means you didn't just say, I'm not going to eat nevel streifus katzim ramasim. You also said, I'm not going to eat dates and figs and whatever else, anything that's mutter. So when you make a shavua b'derech koil, which you expand it to include other things, then it can be chal even dvarim asurim. Rish Lakish says no. We'll see soon. Rish Lakish doesn't hold of koil in this case, so he needs a different teretz. Rish Lakish Amar iyatem moitza ela ibu mafarish chatz shiva libed rabbanon ibu stav libed rakiva damar hod moitza atzim b'chol shu. So it's a case where the guy said, I'm not going to eat nevelas etrevish katzim ramasim, even b'chatzi shiur, even less than a kazayas. Now Rish Lakish L'shitase holds that you're not usher. It's not usher for you to eat nevela that's less than. If you go into McDonald's and you buy a cheeseburger and you have a tiny piece that's less than a kazayas, there's no iser Torah. B'chalai, not also there's no mush b'va'imit in that. But the Rabbanon, according to Rish Lakish, there's no iser Torah. Chatzi shiur is mutter min Torah according to Rish Lakish. So therefore, Rish Lakish says, I have a very simple resolution. I have a very simple answer. And how the shavua that he made in our Mishnah is takachal. Hagam is he's making a shavua on nevelas of trevish katzim ramasim. How? Because he's making on a chatzi shiur. Chatzi shiur, you're not much b'va'imad yet. So that's why it's chal on nevelas of trevish.
It's a little technical. There's a lot of low susur. So it does.
That's a nice kasha.
Steps on somebody's feet.
You're asking a moidig kasha. You're asking according to Shitas Rambam. The Rambam says that every drabanan really is a da'iraisa als loy sasur. Asks you, Doctor Oibazoi, avadir mush b'va'im even in a chatzi shiur according to Rish Lakish als loy sasur. Beautiful kasha. It's a gorgeous kasha. Remember hearing the kasha? I don't remember the teretz. Okay. Hope you're not going to sleep over it tonight. But it's a good kasha.
Ikar is the kasha anyway.
Ikar is the kasha, yeah. When I was in 9th grade, I had a Rebbe, Rabbi David Trank. Yeah? It was a Chayil Avracha. Adelphia, yeah.
My father went to Adelphia.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
That's how I know the name.
Wow.
12th grade.
Yeah. Rabbi Trank, my Rebbe, if you asked the kasha in his shiur, in his class, the whole yeshiva was celebrating. Everybody, he ran around from classroom to classroom. Yoel Gold asked the kasha. Everybody, it could have been, I don't know, like sometimes he'd send me out, go ask the Rosh Hashiva of Naftali Stern, go ask him. Make a whole big deal out of the kasha. And I was like wondering, like, is it a taka good kasha? He says, it's a good kasha because you asked it. Yeah. You know, it was like more about you asking the kasha than the kasha itself. But that's how he built us. Beautiful.
He was a legend, Richard. They had a book about him, just came out a few years ago.
Yes.
Hold My Hand, something like that, by my side.
Just love them.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Just love them, yeah.
It's some good stories.
Yep. Beautiful.
Amen.
Yep. Great book. Okay, says the Gemara weiter. Bishleim Rabbi Yochanan le'emek Rish Lakish. I understand why Rabbi Yochanan doesn't want to say like Rish Lakish. That what? Rish Lakish says that it's chatzi shiur, either according to the Rabbanan, it's chatzi shiur when you're mefarish, or liba the Rebbe Kiva, that you're always oiser as atzmai b'kol shul, right? And by Shevuah, it's automatically a kol shul. So the Gemara says, I understand why Rabbi Yochanan doesn't say like Rish Lakish demukal nasnisin k'divrei hakoil, because according to Rish Lakish, you have to establish the Mishnah either like the Rabbanan bestam, right? I'm sorry, either like the Rabbanon b'mefarish, or either like Rabbi Kiva b'stam. So he doesn't want to be moikim according to only one Tana. That's why Rabbi Yochanan doesn't like Rish Lakish. He says koilul. Ela Rish Lakish, my time Rabbi Yochanan. Why does Rish Lakish want to say like Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan says you could be mefarish the Mishnah that it's chal on Avelis Atrefis because you made a Shevuah derech koilel. You expanded it to other Dvarim HaMutarim. So why doesn't Rish Lakish want to say like Rabbi Yochanan? If you say like that, it could be everybody. Right? You don't have to choose Rabbanon, B'mefarish, and Rakiva, B'stam. So Gemara says, Amar Lach, Rish Lakish will tell you, Kiyum Nisa Koilel B'Isra Rabba Elav. When do you say Koilel? It's not so pashut that Koilel works. This teretz of Rabbi Yochanan works in every case. Right? When does Koilel work? B'Isra Rabba Elav. B'Isra Rabba Al Yedei Atzmoi Lo Yamrinan. What is the chiluk of Isra Rabba Elav, Isra Rabba Atzmoi? So Rashi explains, Isra Rabba Elav means, let's say you're Asr ben Avelis Atrefis, and then Yom Kippur comes. And when Yom Kippur comes, you become Asr not just in Dvarim HaMutarim and Dvarim Asurim and everything, right? You're not eating anything. So that, Yom Kippur is Isra Koilel on top of the Nevela. So here, Rish Lakish says, here, Koilel would be Chal. You know why? Because the Isra of Yom Kippur that expands and includes all kinds of foods is the Isra that comes on its own. You're not the one imposing it.
Zichro had a good graphic of this.
And that, yeah, what did they say?
I'll get it.
Okay. Oh, but the Isra, boy de atzmoi, lo yaminan. But if it's boy de atzmoi, that we don't say, Isra Koilel doesn't apply to boy de atzmoi. Which means the person himself brings onto himself, imposes on himself a Shevuah that comes through his Dibur, that would not work, even if it's b'derech Koilel.
He brings out Rashi that says,
yeah.
talking about when you started eating before Yom Kippur.
Ah, yeah?
That's what he says. He says that the Isser of the Nevela came first, and then the Isser of Yom Kippur. And Yom Kippur,
But doesn't mean he started eating before Yom Kippur? Or
yeah, when Yom Kippur arrives, since Yom Kippur provision takes effect on kosher meat, it is effective to prohibit Nevela as well. So that's what he means by the Issakola.
no, but you're saying he was eating it Erev Yom Kippur?
He was eating it Erev Yom Kippur.
Okay, I'm trying to find this in Rashi. I don't see it. Hold on.
Well, it's article number 1.
Aha. Rashi is going to oichel nevela b'yoyim HaKippurim. He's eating nevela on Yom Kippur, right? So even though it was aser before Yom Kippur because of nevela and ein isser chal iser, but here it's chal because Yom Kippurim is isser koilel, because it includes even shchuta, right? So yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah, what do you got over here?
Look on the left over here. It kind of has it all in one picture, right? The Vela, Yom Kippur, Isser Kol Haba. Because Kad is a picture. Chaf Dal. It's got everything, and you'll see the next one. This is a little
beautiful.
Conceptualizes it nicely.
The picture includes it all.
Right.
The picture's the container.
The picture's Kylo, the picture's Maisif, and the picture, whatever the last one is.
Oh, wow. Okay, shout out to Zichra, the best. Gorgeous. Very good. Okay, so the Gemara says, that's where Rish Lakish doesn't want to say like Rabbi Yochanan. So the Gemara says, Bishlam el Rish Lakish, Mishamachi kapater Reb Shimon. I understand Rish Lakish. Why? Because there's a machlokes in the Mishnah between Tanakama and Reb Shimon, whether you make a Shevuos, shelo oichel neveil setreif shkatzim remasim, then he eats it, whether you're chayiv or not. Tanakama says you're chayiv, right? And Reb Shimon says you're potter. So according to Rish Lakish, that says that the reason why Tanakama is mechayiv is because he said it in a chatzi shiur, right? In the chatzi shiur there was no isser chatzi shiur in Torah, so it was chal in the chatzi shiur. There's no mush b'va'imid on that. So I understand mishmachik pater of Shimon. That's Rav Shimon paters. The Tanya of Shimon Omer kol shulamakas, that you're chayiv min Torah even on a kol shul. So it's not going to help you that you made the Shevuah on a chatzi shiur, because according to Rav Shimon, even on a chatzi shiur you're chayiv min Torah. So you're already mush b'va'imid on that. V'lamer kazai sel lekarbon. The only reason why there's ever a shiur kazai is by machalos asuras is for a carbon, not for malchus. So therefore, we understand the machlokes Tanakama and Rav Shimon, because the yesod of that machlokes would be, according to Rish Lakish, whether you're mush b'vayimid in a kol shavua or not. And the nafkamina would be whether the shavua is chal when you make a shavua in a chatzi shiur. According to Rav Shimon, it's not, because you're already mush b'vayimid in a chatzi shiur. That's what Rav Shimon paters. El Rabbi Yochanan, my time of Rav Shimon the Potar. According to Rabbi Yochanan, who explains the Tanakama, he's chayiv at Isser Koilel because it was an expansive shua. Why is Rav Shimon Potar? Yeah, midu time of Rav Shimon Koilel. Rav Shimon, Gemara says, so doesn't he hold of Isser Koilel? Gemara says, yeah, you're right. Rav Shimon Tamei, the list Isser Koilel. Rav Shimon Taka doesn't hold of this svar of Isser Koilel. The Tanya, Rav Shimon Omer oichel nevela b'yom kippurim Potar. Shimon says the guy who eats nevela on Yom Kippur, he's taka Potter, right? Why is he Potter? Because because koil doesn't help you. The Isser of Yom Kippur can't come along on a piece of nevela and asir it if the nevela is already asir before Yom Kippur, because it's asir manatayra. So Reb Shimon holds that a guy's very mechudesh the chiddush, right? Mechudesh the geshita. Ha'oichel nevela b'Yom Kippurim. Machlokes tanoim if you're chayiv als if you're chayiv kares, chayiv als nevela. It's a lav, but are you chayiv kares for eating on Yom Kippur? It's an unbelievable thing. Shimon says,
could be just it's not considered achila, right?
Why wouldn't it be?
It said the Gemara basis says that achilas gas on Yom Kippur you're potter.
Achilas gas on Yom Kippur. Why? Because that's not called an achila. You want to say that's the svar of Shimon?
Yeah, who says he's talking about Isser Kodel?
I'll tell you, but the Gemara is saying because the Leslie Isser Kodel, so you can't be meichel a new Isser of Yom Kippur. The Gemara seems to say, the way Rashi explains, Rashi says that
Shimon only says that
Deloi osi koris de Yom Kippurim v'chayil al Isser nevela. You can't impose a new Isser on something which is already Isser, which is a big chiddush. In other words, Shimon is saying that nevela is not Isser on Yom Kippur. The Isser Yom Kippur can't be chal on an Isser nevela because it's already Isser v'aymed. It's already Isser. What are you saying, Shimon? Isser Yom Kippur is even on a chatzi shiur. Wow. Yeah. That's Rabbi Yochanan Taka. His shita kol terkul is chatzi shiur osam anatayra.
No,
right?
but you chayav.
You chayav even on chatzi shiur.
You chayav, yeah.
Or not just. He's saying it's not just. You chayav
Yom Kippur, chayav
kares even on chatzi shiur.
פחות מ... what is כותבת?
It's a different shiur. But you still need a shiur, Ripshol, no? It might be not a kazai, it's not a kasev, because a shiur of inoi, of not the, because it says, right. Okay, the sugya nyuma. Yes, doctor.
The nevela, though, is capable of being eaten. It's not like offal. It's not like dirt.
The vela is capable of being eaten, not look up right. It's barachila. Yeah, we saw it yesterday in the daf, right?
So
right.
It's a different type of Isser than Isser Yom Kippur.
Right.
Like you said, the Tosfos and Yuma says it's two types of Achilas Gasa. One is Achilas Gasa where he really eats till he's full, and the Tosfos says the second Achilas Gasa, which is not an Achil at all because he's so full, it's conscious. That's the Isser that's not considered an Achila.
Right.
Because a normal person cannot tolerate it. So it's out of the category. But in Vela, it's still the category of Achila. So that's a different love in the love of Yom Kippur.
Right.
So they're two separate loves.
Okay. Beautiful. So bottom line is, Reb Shimon says, a guy eats nevela Yom Kippur, he's potter from kares. Why? Because Taka doesn't hold of Isser Koilo. And that's the machlokes. According to Rabbi Yoel, the machlokes in our Mishnah, a guy says, Shevuos lo oichel. Right, and he's koilel dvarim maturim dvarim asurim. Tanakama says it's chal on avelis because koilel works. Reb Shimon says koilel never works. Even by Isra b'ma elav, even in Yom Kippur, it never works. Gemara says bishlam Rish Lakish, another kasha. Bishlam Rish Lakish kachas la b'lavehen. I understand Rish Lakish's explanation in the Mishnah. Why Tanakama is mechayev? Because he made a Shevuos and a chatzi shiur, and a chatzi shiur is not also in a Torah. And Reb Shimon says that it is. But I understand Rish Lakish from a different side. Mishkachas la bala vehen. One of the criteria of a Shevuos is that it's only chal if it could work both ways. If you can make it in the negative sense or in the positive sense. Isn't the Torah t'chsiv lahora or lahetiv? Right? Nefesh ki yishal levatim b'sayim lahora lahetiv. So any Shevuos you're going to make in terms of a Shevuos bitoy, in the family of Shevuos bitoy, has to be capable of being flipped and said both ways. Yeah, lahora, which means lo yoichel, and lahetiv means eichel, which means eichel. So the Gemara says, this Shevuos that we're talking about, according to Rish Lakish, where he makes a Shevuos on a chatzi shiur, and avails a treifus, I understand. It's shaykh balav, which means lo yoichel chatzi shiur nevela, right? That's going to be chal, because chatzi shiur is mutter min haTorah. And it's also shaykh behen, which means lo yoichel chatzi shiur nevela or oichel chatzi shiur nevela, right? Because either way, he's not being nishbal l'kayim as a mitzvah, not being nishbal l'vatel as a mitzvah. It's not subject to the mitzvah of nevelas treifus b'chalal because it's chatzi shiur. It's below the threshold of whatever the Torah commands you. So it's subject to lavehen. It fits that criteria according to Rish Lakish. Elo Rabbi Yochanan, but according to Rabbi Yochanan, that says that the reason why you're chayev by Shevuos shel oichel in the Mishnah you're chayev if you eat neveil treifus is because of koilo bishloim alav mishkachas la. I understand if you say loy oichel, right? So that is going to be chal on neveil treifus b'derech koilo, like we just spoke about. Elehen, but what about the other way around? What if you flip it and you say I'm gonna eat Shevuos shel oichel, right? Heichem mishkachas la. How is that possible for it to be chal according to Rabbi Yochanan? According to Rabbi Yochanan, what did Rabbi Yochanan say? Rabbi Yochanan said that it's chal only b'derech koilo. That's very nice if you want to be nishba l'kayim as a mitzvah and you say shaloi oichel. You're reinforcing the original Shevuah so it can be chal b'derech koilo. But if you're defying the original Shevuah, right? If you're defying the original Shevuah, the Shevuah of Har Sinai, and you're saying Shevuah she'oichel, koilo is not going to help you to be mavatal as a mitzvah. It's not going to help you to force you to go and eat. Now you have to go eat the neveil treifus. That can't work. That mechanic, that koilo can't help you with. Koilo can help you belav if you reinforce the original mushba v'oimed and you say that I'm not going to eat, and you mean dvarim matarma and dvarim asurim, so it's chal even on neveil treifus. But if you say I will eat, right, b'derech hen lehetiv, it won't be chal to force you to eat neveil treifus, to go against an opposite Shevuah of Har Sinai. That's not going to be chal. So if it's not belav v'hen, so it's not even be chal on lav, right? Any Shevuah has to be chal on both.
So כותבת זה גדול מכזית וקטן מביצה, זה 40 סמ"ק.
You going back to Yom Kippur? What is this?
I'm just taking it.
Yeah, no, tell me more.
I want to know
What's the exact shiur?
What is the shiur that you mechayav karet?
Okay.
So זה כותבת זה לא כזה, יותר מכזית, אבל פחות מכביצה.
Wow. Okay. It's less than a kazayas.
No,
more than a kazayas.
Less than a big.
Less than a beit.
What do you mean? Oh, less than a kibetza. But what do you? So usually kazayas machalas asuras is kazayas, but in Kippur you're saying it has to be more than a kazayas.
More than kazayit, b'shiur shel plus. That's why they tell you eat a little bit and then wait, a little bit and then wait. So it's not going to be not going to be אכילת כפרה.
Okay, beautiful.
פחות מכותבת, שזה נחשב עדיין עינוי. It's still an עינוי.
My uncle, that's how I know. My uncle does.
Even though it's achila, but it's still an inoy.
It's still an עינוי, yes.
So you're not over on
Not over on the isur.
an inoy, right? To be an inoy. I see. Beautiful. Beautiful.
You're allowed to do that helps with the sugar, with the glucose level?
I mean, it depends on the situation, but that's one approach. There are different medical situations.
You're less than a shake.
עכשיו זה נפסק ככה לכל תענית, לא רק let's say somebody, 17 בתמוז, 17 בתמוז,
Yeah.
and he needs to eat something, he does the same thing, because this is מה שנקבע לשיעור של
A lot of
תענית,
people like that.
לומדים את זה מיום כיפור.
Wow, they're few.
They want to fast.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Okay, let's go weiter because we got to finish the daf here. I gotta get to the Mishnah at least. Let's see. Elo Kadurava. Says the Gemara that we're falling off with the original teretz. Again, let's go back to the original kasha in our Mishnah. There's a stira. Mishnah says in the first case it's Shevuos shel oichel, and then he eats dvarim she'einu ruin la'achila. He's pater. It says Shevuos shel oichel, and then he eats neveil treifus. He's chayev. The Gemara wanted to know how you talk. Why? L'chayr it's the same thing, same case. The Gemara assumed in the Havamina that neveil treifus is dvarim she'einu ruin la'achila, and Tanakama says pater. So how can he say afterwards chayev? So the Gemara says the chiluk was stam and mefarish. In the reish it was stam. Said Shevuos shel oichel stam. So obviously his kavana was to dvarim haruyin la'achila. So if he eats she'einu ruin la'achila is pater. And in the Seifa, it's Mefarish. The Gemara says Mefarish has to be Chal. It can't Mushba v'oimed. The Gemara says Koidel according to Rabbi Yochanan. Now the Gemara falls off with that original chiluk of Stam and Mefarish between the Reish and the Seifa. Eluk the Rava. The Amar Rava said Shevuos shel oichel v'ochel offer pater. It's not a stira b'chlal. When you're asking how could the Tanakama say in the Mishnah that if you say Shevuos shel oichel v'ochel oichel she'enu la'achila he's pater. I says neveil treifus yechayev. Dvar she'einu la'achila doesn't mean neveil treifus. That's not considered. It's not considered einu la'achila, like the doctor said. That's a bar achila. What the Mishnah is referring to is offer over there. So it's not a steer at all. You don't have to come into the whole koilo business. It's not a steer in the Mishnah. Okay, so that's the teretz. Shevuos shel oichel v'ochel offer pater. So if a guy, nachamol, so if a guy says Shavua shelo yoichel. Yeah? It's a good riddle, a good trivia. What would happen? Right. When I was in ninth grade, Rabbi, this would be one of the questions on my test. What would happen if a guy says Shavua shelo yoichel? Right? What can he eat? And he would be potter. What can he eat that is not edible, or he's not allowed to eat, and he'd be chayiv? So afar would be potter because it's not edible, and the veils of treifus would be chayiv agam it's aser. I guess we'd phrase it. What food
No, see, that's
that he can't eat? Oh, you get in trouble because the language.
Offer is not food.
Right.
What substance?
What substance?
No, what
Right. How would you word it for a good
What
riddle?
can you eat? What can you eat? That's it.
Huh?
What can you eat?
That's a better question.
Take away the adjective, right? What can you eat?
It's not much of a riddle. That's tamakasha. That's tamashaila.
Right.
Rabbi, what can I eat? I made a shvush lo'aychel. That's like your average shaila for a rabbi.
Right.
Try to be smart over here.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Okay, that's the story. The kids, okay, we don't have to be very smart about it. It's pasha, it's straightforward. Rava says, Pshat of the Mishnah is not a stira b'chlal. Shvush lo'aychel, oichlin she'enu lechilas potter, because it's not edible, it's ofar. And oichlin that are barachila, but it's arid reviala, you're not allowed to eat, that's chayiv, because still food. Amar of Mor, Afan and Amtanina, we learned in the Mishnah earlier, same Mishnah at the end, says, Kainam ishti nehenesli imachalti hayom. Guy says, my wife should be aser, should not have enough from me if I ate today. And it turns out in the past, earlier that day for breakfast, he had ochel nevel streifus katzim eramasim. Harei ishte asur loi. His wife is aser. So you must be, if he said, imachalti, right? And he only had the Veils of Treifus, so why would it be Aser? It must be because the Veils of Treifus is Achila. That's Eichel, right? Gemara says, Hachi Ashta. Not so fast. Could be that the Veils of Treifus is not Ruin Achila. It's not Bechlal Eichel. But Hossam over there, that case of Koina Mishti, Kivan the Meikara Achal, since he ate before he said it, V'hoder Shtieble, and afterwards he made that, I think Shtieble is the borrowed term, made that neder, cheshuvi achshevei, right? Then he was megaladas that the nevelas treifas that he ate earlier is a dvar achila because he ate it already. So he defined for himself that that's oichel, and that's why she becomes aser. Alahacha, but over here, if it's future tense, mi achshevei, you don't find in the case if he says future tense shavua shaloi oichel that his das, that he's machshav nevelas treifas for a dvar achila. So maybe you can't bring a raya from that. Could be that case is different. Yeah.
Strange sword. Just because he is machshav, it changes the
Loshem b'nei Adam.
No, the status of nevelas treifas and shvatzim. Why would his formula or his verbal enunciation change the status of this item? That's not. He's
a great question.
Boss to change it whether it's food or not food.
It's a great question. It seems because by Shevuos, when you make a Shevuos or a neder, it very much depends on what your intention is and what language you're using. So if we know that your intention is when you're using that language to include nevelas treifas as dvar achila, then that would be chal on that, because Shavuot is all about intention and language. Yeah. So if you reveal that your das is nevelas treifas is a dvar achila, then when you're using a chalti, then it's going on that you mean that as well. So if it's about intention and language, I think that would make a big difference. No.
Intention, I don't understand. Intention is his subjective thinking. We're focusing on the lashon use. Oichel, chalti,
right.
treifas, offer.
But nevelas treifas is a gray area. It could be included in language. It could not be. Nevelas treifas is a gray area. On the one hand, you're not allowed to eat it. On the other hand, it's usher to eat. It's on the one hand, it's a barachila, and it's something that you could eat.
It's potential to eat. Yeah, it's
barachila. The people of the world eat it. The other hand, you're not allowed to eat it. So the shaila is here. Your intention will define it. Are you calling it a dvar achila? So if we know from the past that you consider it a dvar achila, then that would very much be included in that language.
You can swear and say, I swear I'm not going to eat pork.
Ooh. Excellent, Reb Shaul. Very good. But by Nedorim, this is a case of Nedorim. By Nedorim, it's different. Nedorim is not a Shevuah. Mush Bavayim is by Shevuah. Here we're talking about a case of Kainam, of Neder. Right, so Neder is different. Right. Okay. Omar Rava. Omar says, my time to this Isser Koilel mid the Isser Moisef. The one who holds that Isser Koilel is Chal, right, when you generalize a Shevuah, it's Chal even on something which you have been previously usher to. From Ar Sinai, like the case in the Veil Satrefis, right, you say Shor Shla Oichel and you Koilel all the other foods, it's Chal mid the Isser Moisef. It's similar to an Isser Moisef. So here, we're going to pull up Rocky's genius chart of here, what the chiluk is Isser Moisef and Isser Koilel. Yeah, and the way Rashi explains it here. Rashi explains what's an Isser Moisef. Isser Moisef is, take for example, Chaylev. Chaylev is Asr Ba'achila. Right? Now, if this Chaylev was part of a carbon that was left over, now becomes Noiser. And once it becomes Noiser, besides for it being Asr Ba'achila, it's also going to be Asr to burn on the Mizbeach. Oh, so now, because Noiser has an additional Isser of burning it onto the Mizbeach, right? You have to Ba'ish to Surf, you have to take it out and burn it elsewhere. Right? You can't put it on the Mizbeach anymore. So once it adds the Isser Mizbeach, so now there's another Isser Achila that's Chal on the Chayla, but Gam Chayla was already Asr Ba'achila. Because with Noiser, besides for its additional Isser Achila of Noiser, it added an Isser of putting it onto the Mizbeach. That's an Isser Moisef. Talk about the same Chatichas Chaylev. Chaylev is Asr Ba'achila. But if this Chaylev was part of a carbon and you left it over as Noiser, and now it's Asr Ba'achila for an additional reason, because Noiser is Asr Ba'achila also, it could only be Chal because it carries with it an additional Isser, because Noiser has an additional Isser that Chaylev doesn't have, which means Noiser is not allowed to be burnt in the Mizbeach. That's Isser Moisef. Isser Koilel is when the Isser that you're adding is not in the same Chaticha. It's on different foods. Right? So for example, you're Asr by the Veil Satrefis, then you make a Shevuah to expand other foods which are mutter. So you're generalizing to the other foods, therefore it's Chal on, it's a step removed. Because it's not the same, you're not adding an Isser in the same Chaticha that was Asr before. You're adding an Isser on Chatichas that were mutter, other pieces. And with that, Migui, it's Chal on the other pieces that are mutarim, it's also Chal on the Dvar Isser. It's a big difference, Isser Koil, Isser Moisef, right? The quicker Svara is Isser Moisef. Isser Moisef is a much better Migui, because it's the same Chaticha. Isser Koil is the bigger Chiddush, because now the same Chaticha. In the Veil Satrefis, you're not adding an Isser in the Veil Satrefis, you're adding an Isser in other foods. And because it's in other foods, other Chaticha is also Chal on the Veil Satrefis. That's a bigger Chiddush. So Rabbi is saying, my time about the Isla Isser Koil, you know where he learns the Svara of Isser Koil? Midav Isser Moisef. Because he learns in Isser Moisef. Uman the Potar, right, the one who argues on Koil, on the Isser Koil, which is who argues on the Isser Koil, we saw earlier, right, we saw that it was Reb Shimon. So why does he argue on Isser Koil? Because exactly what we just said. Isser Koil is a much bigger chiddush because you're expanding the migoy to chatichas that are different. Omar Rava, and Rava said, "Lamad isla Isser Koil." What happens? The court mandam says Isser Koil. Omar shvush leichel teina v'chaz Omar shvush leichel teina v'anovim. Right? He mentioned teinim and then he mentioned anovim as well. Migo dechayla anovim chayil nam yata einim. So that would be a classic case of Isser Koil. Gemara says, Pshita, what's the chiddush? It's a classic case of Isser Koil. What is he adding? Gemara says, Ma'u detema Isra abba me'elav amrinon, Isra abba me'atzmai, lo yamrinon, k'mash malon. Could be, when do we say Isser Koil? That's by Yom Kippur. Right? Yom Kippur carries with it Isurim on all foods, including the Veil Satrefis, but you're not the one imposing the Isser on all the foods. It's Isra abba me'elav. Maybe only of the there we say Isser Koil is Chal. But when you're the one imposing it with your own words, maybe it's takanat chal. Comes Rava, and Rava's mechadish that if you hold a Isser Koil, it's even if you're saying you're the one saying Shevuos shlo eichel teinim, and then you're adding Shevuos shlo eichel teinim v'anovim. It's Isra abba me'atzmai. Still, kamash malan, you say Isser Koil, and it works. You're chayiv on the Veil Satrefis, bein on the Isser Veil Satrefis, and also on the Shevuah that you made because it was chal through Isser Koil. So Gemara says, Masav Rava Brei de Rabba. Now he's going to challenge this idea of Isser Koil. Yeah, there's a Mishnah increases. Mishnah says, this Mishnah is reminiscent of the end of Makkas. Right? Yesh chayrish telem echad v'chayev olav v'shmashmayin alavan, right?
The Kohen Gadol.
Oh, is it Chafalef? Yeah?
The Kohen, you were talking about the Kohen Gadol and the...
Yeah. What was the Zikr Simon over there?
The car.
Oh, Ka. The Ka.
Yeah.
Right?
It was. It's Chafalef.
Yeah. So Masav Rabbi Rabbi, yesh oichel achila achas. Somebody eats one bite. V'chayev olav arba chatois v'osham echad. Can be chayev 4 chatois and 1 osham. Ve'eluhain. You ready? Let's keep track. Tomei she'ochel chaylev. Okay, let's go with chaylev first. V'hu noiser. Noiser 2. Min ha-mikdoshin. Right? So you have an iser noiser min ha-mikdoshin. And that's 2. B'yoyim ha-kippurim. And it's Yom Kippur. That's 3. And also he's tomei that he's eating hektish. So it's tomei is eating hektish. Plus the hektish you're eating is chaylev. Plus noiser and plus Yom Kippur. So you got 4. Where's the osham echad? Osham echad is me'ilah.
Well, isn't eating chaylev an isser separate from the fact that he's tamei? Is it tamei?
Yeah, tamei she'achal kodesh, right?
2.
That's the first. So you have number 1 is chaylev. Chaylev is on its own. Now they eat chaylev. Yeah,
so,
number 1.
So why is the fact that he's tamei?
Then you have. Okay, what's it? You have Noisar. Noisar is an additional isser. Then you have Yom Kippur. And then you have Tamei She'achal Kodesh. Now let it hektish because you're Tamei. Right? By the way, which carbon does he bring? The Gemara says Arba Chatois over here. The Mishnah says Arba Chatois. Which carbon does a Tamei She'achal Kodesh bring? Right? Thomas Mikdash V'Kadashav. That's carbon of Yair. But it's called the Chatas. Right? Okay, that's 4. And number 5, which is the Asham, is because Me'ilah. Right? That's it. So you have Me'ilah. A carbon on Me'ilah. Being moil behagdish. So that's the case. Yesh oichel achila achas v'chayev arba chatos v'osham echad ve'elen tomash oichel chayil v'res v'kdashim yom kippurim. Rabbi Meir came up with another one. Af im hoisa Shabbos v'hoitziyai chayev. Right? As you're eating it, you're also being moitzi it. You're taking it out. Okay.
With the shinoi.
Right? He's in his mouth. He's chewing. I don't know if it's a shino because Rashi said it's tziyod b'fiv b'shas achila, right? He's chewing on it, munching on it, and he's walking out. That's a 5th isser of Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Amru loy einam and Hashem. By the way, which Mishnah does that remind you of? Machlekes Rambam the Chachamim, whether einam and Hashem, right? Loy and Hashem was it's also Makas Daf Daled. Okay, either way, I think Gemara says that it's a whole different isser. Einam and Hashem. It's not coming because of the achila. It's coming because it's so. Here we're talking about yesh oichel achila achas, and the achilas, that's machayev you. But here, if you happen to walk out from a shayach to surabim while you're eating, that's not a chiv on the achila, it's a chiv on aitzah, it's a whole different animal. Okay. Says the Gemara, okay, that's the Mishnah. The im isa, and if it's true that you say isser koilul, even when it's isser abba me'atzma, then I could have given you another isser. Could have given you another chatas. How so? Where? Gemara says, Chamesh, Mishkachas l'chamesh, Mishkachas l'chamesh, ki goin she'omar, Shevuos shelo oichel tmorim v'chelev, niged chayil tmorim, chayil am yachelev. You have an Isser Koilel, right? You could have made a Shavua on this piece of chelev that you're eating, and then you would have been chayiv on the Shavua also. You would have an additional Isser, and it would have been chal, because it's a Koilel, because it was at tmorim and chelev, and you hold that Isser Koilel, even if it's by the atzma, it's chal. So why doesn't the Mishnah mention that? Unless you say it doesn't work, so it's a kasha. The Gemara says, no, the Mishnah only mentions Kiktani Isra Abba Me'elav, Isra Abba Me'atzmai L'Ktani. No, the Mishnah chooses to focus on any Isurim that are Boin Ma'aleyan, that you didn't impose on yourself, it's coming, it's just in its natural state, it came on its own. Gemara says, really? Is that really what the Mishnah deals with over there? Gemara says, Vari Hektish. What about Hektish? Hektish, over there, one of the cases is Noisim and Amikdashin, right? You're moil behektish. It's you're dealing with hektish. Hektish is a Isra Abba Me'atzmai, because you're the one who was Magdish it. And yet the Mishnah mentions it. Gemara says, no, we're talking about a type of hektish you didn't cause. It was bebechar. The Kedushasai Meirechem. It's also Isra Abba Me'elav. That kind of hektish is on its own. Iboy Seima, another teretz is, Kiktani Mida de Lesle She'ela. anything that you can't go back on. There's no way to be matter the Isser through a Chacham, through She'elas Chacham. Shevuah, the Islay She'ela, loik tani. But Shevuah, which you could be matter al dei Chacham, the Isser Shevuah, that the Mishnah doesn't mention. Asks the Gemara, Harei Hekdesh. What I mean, Hekdesh is pretty much, it's a neder, and every neder has She'ela. So that, l'chayr, the Mishnah does mention Dvorim, the Isla She'ela. Gemara says, no, didn't we mention Akimna b'Bechar? Not a Hekdesh. We're talking about Bechar. It's a Kedusha b'Meleo. You can't be matter the Isra of Bechar. Ibo is saying, Mikiktani karbon kavua. Karbon oil v'yored like tani. When it says arba chatais, we're only mentioning a chatas kavua, a fixed chatas. But if you're going to start bringing in a case of Shavua, then the Isser, the carbon you bring on Shavua is a different carbon. So oil v'yored. So a carbon oil v'yored like tani. Ask them, really? Harei tami shachal sakaydish, the carbon oil v'yored. What do you mean? The first two prakim of Sechta Shavuos deals with an oil v'yored and somebody who ate hektish betumam, and that's one of the cases in that Mishnah. So why do you tell me the Mishnah doesn't choose a case of oil v'yored? One of the cases, one of these isurim is oil v'yored. Answers the Gemara, no, benasi v'Rabbi Eliezeri. It's actually not an oil v'yored. That case specifically is referring to a nasi, and the Shitz Rabbi Eliezer, the nasi may be soyer. The nasi brings a regular chatas, a fixed chatas. Rashi Omar, Rashi says another limitation, which we find in that Mishnah, which is why we can't include Isser Kailo. Kiktani midi the chayla kishir shavua, the chayla pachas mikashir like tani. The Mishnah only mentions Isurim that requires a certain shiur to be over on it. But Shavua, that doesn't need a shiur, like tani. Right? What do you mean Shavua doesn't need a shiur? Right? If it's mefarish chatzi shiur, then, right, even according to the Rabbanon, you're chayav on less than a kazayas. That's why it's not mentioned in that Mishnah. Asks the Gemara, Harei Hekdesh. What do you mean? Hekdesh doesn't need a shiur, doesn't need a kazayas. Gemara says, you're right, it doesn't need a kazayas, but in a shavapruta, but it still needs a shavapruta, so mamela, it's still mentionable. It could still be part of the list in the Mishnah. But Shavua, which can be chal even on a mashu, if you're mafarish, the Shavua that you're not going to need a mashu, then it's not counted, it's not mentioned as part of the list of the chatois in the Mishnah, because we're not mentioning anything that's pachas mikashir, that doesn't need a shiur. The Ravashi, miavirya, it's a makam. Rashi says, a place avirya, I never saw this before. Yeah, Ravashi from Avirya Omer Rabbi Zera, Kiktani, we're only talking about a case of Zdoinoi Karas. Zdoinoi Lav like Tani. Shvu is only a lav, it's not a karas. So if you're mentioning shvu in the mix, that's a lav that wouldn't fit in that list, because everything else is karas. Ask them, really, everything else is karas? Varei Asham, this is doinoi lav uktani. Asham is a lav and it's mentioned. Gemara says b'chatas kamrinon. When we're saying that we're mentioning arba chatois v'asham echad, so in the arba chatois we're only mentioning the chatos in the list of chatois, only something which is karis b'mezid, but not a lav. V'vino kiktani mid dechayel amid the barachilo shvua dechayel amid la barachilo loiktani. That he says anything that these isurim are only subject strictly to achila, to macholim, but shvua can be done, can be made in anything, even if it's not a bar achila. So therefore, it's not in the list. What do you mean hegdish for bedek abayis? It's hegdish in the list over there. It's chayil on eitzim v'avonim. So how can you tell me that that's the criteria? El dekiktoni dechayil amida de izba mashosha, shvua dechayil amida de lesbe mashosha. Like tani, we don't mention shvua because shvua it can be chal even on something which is not tangible. Right? You say I'm not going to sleep or I will sleep. So Mela, that's why the Isser Shavua is not on the list of Yesh Oichel Achila Achaz V'chayiv, right, on Shavua as well. We could have said that includes a case of Shavua, but Shavua would have been the odd one out, in the sense that would have been the only case which is Chayil on Mida de Les B'Mashasha, so we don't mention it. So, but really, Kailul, it can be Chayil through an Isser Kailul, even if it's by the Atzmai. So Rava's Chiddush upholds, that's the halacha, and it's not disproved from this Mishnah. Just one final picture I want to show you before we end, and that is that somebody reached out to me literally an hour 50 minutes ago before this year, saying that that would be right before the Bar Mitzvah. Right before the Bar Mitzvah, they had a pair of tefillin, Chabad. He put on Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi, and what happened? And he lost it.
What do you mean lost?
He lost the film.
Both?
Both, the whole thing, lost the film. He was mamish about to have his bar mitzvah. It was brand new pair. He was getting ready to use it. He lost it and he was devastated. Remembers the feeling? He was mamish devastated. They looked for it high and low everywhere. Today, he gets a call from a guy in Texas. This is 28 years later. Almost 30 years later. Guy in Texas, they were cleaning up his father's house, and they found a bunch of different items, and they found this tefillin, religious item. They contacted somebody, a shliach in Texas. They knew it was Jewish. They contacted. They didn't know what to do with it. Took a picture and sent it. You saw the name? I'll tell you the name. The name is, hold on. It's unbelievable. Name is Ragorotsky. Shmuel Ragorotsky. You know what this is? Here in LA. And this shliach, I think, is related to Rabbi Kesselman here. So he says maybe it's a guy in LA. Just contacts Rabbi Kesselman. It says Ragorotsky, LA. He says he's sitting right in front of me right now. If I was talking to him, he says, you have a pair of tefillin that you lost? He's like, yeah, 28 years ago. I'm like, we found it. We got it.
But what he was doing in Texas?
That's the shiur. It turns out his father was a cab driver many years ago, and he must have taken a cab. He left it there. His father didn't know what to do with it, so he held on to it. You know? No, good. A cab, yeah. Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, take a look. This picture right here.
Wow. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Valdig.
Still hope for my film.
What do you think the message of the? It needs to be articulated. What's the message? Never give up hope.
That I still have hope for my film that I lost 3 years ago.
No way.
Got stolen. So I still have hope.
You got stolen?
Yeah, for my car.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Listen.
No, it's my son. I bought him a pair of tefillin. 6 months later, went to Eretz Yisrael. Got off the plane, and he left his backpack in the airport. For some reason, we were loading the car, and he left it there. I came running back as soon as the next morning. He's like, "Where's my tefillin?" That's when we chaved. I ran back. It was gone. Ran back once, twice, lost and found, called allow, everything gone. It's a painful, especially by mitzvah. You know, you first get it. It's especially painful. Once you get used to it, it's could be it's easier, maybe not.
My wife's family say it's a compliment.
Ah, yeah, okay. All right, chazak v'yamatz chevro.